Today's episode is brought to you by
our good friends at Matcherino.com and Creation Esports.
Drop the beat!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to HighNoon Podcast. I am your host, The Blevins. With me, as always, is Deathblow, and also a warm, special welcome to our guest, Hexagrams. What's up, buddy?
That made me feel all warm and special. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. It's been a long time coming now.
Yeah, it's been almost 6 hours without Overwatch, so I'm ready to do a podcast about it.
Don't remind us.
It's brutal, man. I played Heroes of the Storm for the first time in like forever today, but I played Tracer, so it felt a little bit
that's
like
all I've done too. It's the only way to get it on.
We all have to cope in one way or another.
Yeah, awful. But that does bring us to some sad news. Hex already alluded to. We're going to be in Overwatch soon enough, which means that this is going to be the last episode of Season 1. This is the season finale. That was how we tricked Hexagrams into coming onto the show. I think it was more special than it actually is.
Yeah.
Just a reminder to everyone, Season 2 is going to start when we get Overwatch back, because that's when tournaments happen, and that's the stuff that we talk about, so that makes sense. Just another reminder, we are going to be doing a giveaway during the downtime. It is going to be a giveaway of that sweet Winston Funko Pop doll thing. Jim, have you figured out what those things actually are?
No, I have no idea, but I'm glad we're giving one away to people because I hear they really like them.
Hey, you don't know what a Funko Pop is?
No, I've really never seen one in real life.
They're really cool.
He's an old crotchety man.
Yeah, like I don't have any of my own, but I give them away as gifts to people. Like my sister is big into the movie Alien, the franchise, and they make a little Funko Pop of that, and like they have Predator, all sorts of cool stuff. And I definitely like Funko Pop stuff.
Gotcha.
Get my sellout in already.
Say, today's episode also brought to you by Funko.
No, they actually are cool. I don't have them because I don't like little just tchotchkes on my desk. Very clean aesthetic here.
Yeah, I just don't have any more room in my room for more junk, so I don't get them. A little bit of housekeeping. Creation Esports News got a little bit of an update. Nothing super big coming up, except that we now have been graced by Lynx. Lynx is now streaming, even though he can't stream Overwatch. So we're not going to be able to see fantastic Widowmaker play, but...
What is he going to stream like during this week? Do you know? I haven't talked to him yet today. I just read this now.
I don't know. I only know from what. I could ask him right now, but I'm not going to, for obvious reasons. I think he was playing like Dark Souls or something at some point.
Huh?
I'm assuming he was playing Overwatch the other day because I think he streamed a couple of times earlier.
Well, I like to personally endorse Lynx, and everyone should preemptively follow him on Twitch because he's not only just one of the best Widowmakers in the game, but just a really cool guy. I've had the pleasure of talking to him throughout different Discords and whatnot, and I've never had a bad time when talking to Lynx. And also, if you want to see like sniping stuff, he's top 5 sniper in EU and the world probably, but in my opinion, he might be the best counter sniper in the game. So like having to win those Widow battles, he's not afraid of anyone. So definitely check out Lynx.
Yeah, Lynx does not afraid of anything. Shout outs to I don't even know when that reference is from, like a million years ago.
Right.
And also Creation they told me that they're going to be putting out some video content while we're on the Overwatch break, but I didn't get any details because I don't have that level of clearance. I'm just a filthy pleb. So without further ado, let's move into our first regularly scheduled segment in What Did We Do Last Week? We'll briefly talk about Deathblow and ourselves and then move on to our guest real quick. So Death, let's start with you. What did you do last week, buddy?
Well, I was telling you guys last week how I was getting pretty close to expert. I did get there. I was hoping to try to get into master. Did not quite make it because there was just so many Game of Thrones related events going on this weekend for me. Went over to this guy. I don't know if you guys have met him, the Blevins. I went over to his house and we watched almost the entire season before.
Like 8 episodes, between 6 and 8 episodes of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it was quite a bit while eating far too much food. So that was a really good time. And then came back to play like 2 games after watching the first episode last night, and like they were both against Jeff Kaplan. So I thought you guys would enjoy that.
Was it 1v1 against Jeff Kaplan?
No,
Kings
still
Row?
no 1v1. Can't even play the guy on Kings Row, unfortunately. But yeah, Hex, we had a joke during the last downtime that it was like I still had access and I was playing against Jeff Kaplan 1v1 on Kings Row nonstop. We don't really know why we had the joke, but
No, we
just
did
kept
know why,
saying it.
because we were giving away a copy of the Origins Edition, and we joked that Death actually just opened it up and was playing against.
Yeah, I couldn't wait.
Was he playing tanks? He always plays tanks.
He played a tank against our 6 Torbjorn strategy that we,
Yeah,
we attempted. So he did play Reinhardt there, but he was Symmetra when he was on defense.
Okay.
Which
I've had a couple games against him, and he was Reinhardt and Winston, and he totally out-Reinhardted me the first half of it, but I got the better of him the second half. In my group, with a bunch of other streamers, we ended up beating his group. So, yeah. Take it, Tiggle.
Yeah, I've never come across him in a solo queue environment, so I've always like had my group with me. It was the first time we ever lost was the 6 Torbjorns, but it's been like almost exclusively on Volskaya with him. I don't know what it is, but the matchmaker just sees Volskaya and wants to throw him on our map. I've even seen him in ranked, and it was Volskaya.
Jeff Kaplan has the ability to just play whatever map he wants. He just only wants to play Volskaya.
If I hear that that's his favorite map for some reason, then I'm going to suspect that's exactly what went down.
Illuminati confirmed. And just briefly, I was doing the same sort of Game of Thrones related stuff. Gotta watch some Game of Thrones and make garbage plates. For those of you who are from or around the Rochester, New York area, you got to know about them garbage plates. But I think no one else anywhere, even like in other parts of Western New York, know about garbage plates.
Yeah, they barely know about them in Buffalo, but
yeah. I mean, it's probably exactly what it sounds like, right? Just a bunch of garbage food on a plate.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's glorious. It's there's nothing better to eat at 2:00 in the morning when you're drunk on the way home from the bar.
Yeah, and there's also no sponsor I'd want more than a garbage plate maker. I would just
Nick Tahoe's Hots and Potatoes.
I would go to hexagram levels of sellout for some garbage plate sponsors.
Well, I would definitely eat a garbage plate as long as I could eat it with a Diet Coke.
Yes. The delicious Diet Coke.
Definitely
How close are you to
my unofficial Diet Coke sponsorship? They're not reaching out yet, but I feel if I just show it on every stream that one day they'll send me at least a cease and desist letter, and they'll have their address, and that's when negotiations truly start.
The dream would be to just get a dispenser like behind you and just have it like that would just
that's honestly one of my dreams is like if I ever get like a ton of money, I'm going to have a fountain put into my house, and it's going to be Diet Coke from the fountain all day.
It really couldn't get better than that. But let's move on. Hex, if you want to talk about briefly what you did last week, just as a
I feel like I casted some games probably somewhere in there for Overkill.gg. Was his cool league play that we were doing for Gosu Gamers, and I just personally streamed a lot. I got over a lot of my Tracism, which was helpful. I played her, and she's extremely fun to play. But I did move on to just being a McCry every time I died to McCree. I would McCry. So McCree, then he got nerfed a little bit too. So it's like my vibes are just changing the world this how. But it's just all Overwatch all last week. I didn't do anything interesting. I watched Game of Thrones last night. Very cool. Creeped me out there at the end a little bit. So no spoilers, but just creepy. I don't know. Like my life has been nothing but Overwatch since like late November of 2015. So asking what I did last week, just Overwatch stuff. Did some Overwatch stuff. I talked about Overwatch. I read websites on Overwatch. Pretty much that's it. And then I sleep and eat on occasion.
Yeah, it's been my answer throughout the whole show so far.
Right.
I played a bunch. I got 45 levels, and
I wasn't expecting that to be depressing, but now saying it out loud. Saying it out loud, it's really hitting me in a weird way.
Yeah, I mean, I have the real depressing answer of I did real life stuff on the weekend. I went to work.
If it wasn't Game of Thrones related, it would have been a terrible weekend to not get to spend it on the beta. But I was pretty happy. I'm very upset though to hear about this falling off on your Tracism, Hex.
I don't know.
Thought we
We'll
were
talk about it later.
comrades
I
there.
looked at the show doc, and we'll probably get into Tracer a little bit later. But
Yeah, we
I did mention I played Heroes of the Storm with her, and like the one thing I will give Blizzard props on for Heroes of the Storm, because I played a lot of the other games that the heroes are from, except for Warcraft. I never played Warcraft. Leave me alone. Don't send me hate mail about that. But everyone feels like they feel in their original game transported into the new world. Like it just felt like Overwatch Tracer in Heroes of the Storm. And that was an incredible achievement that I don't think is easy.
No.
No, I definitely think it would be it's definitely going to be tough to make the other character. Like, if they put Reinhardt in Heroes of the Storm, how are you going to make him a fun character to play in Heroes of the Storm and also feel like Reinhardt?
Yeah, because Earthshatter is fun, and it would be fun in Heroes of the Storm. Like, that's how you make Reinhardt fun.
Yeah, but like the
It'd be
shield...
like Leoric with Earthshatter.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And he could just, like, have his shield up all the time. I don't know. But
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move into just a Heroes of the Storm brewing
Yeah,
podcast.
it's all we have this week.
Yeah, that's true. But...
We prepared him for it last week, too.
One thing we do have this week, Hex, is you. So we're going to talk about you. Because the viewers kind of know about us. The viewer kind of knows about us.
Yes.
But
and both listeners do as well.
We don't know that much about you, Hex. So let's delve a little bit deeper. Bit deeper into the Hexagrams
Get on the
world.
couch.
Yes. But let's start it out. What is your gaming past, Hex? Unless, of course, Overwatch is the first game you've ever played.
I don't know. This could be like a really long answer or a really short answer. I'll combine the two, I guess.
Your choice.
I was actually just looking at, like, you sent me the questions beforehand. I'm looking at. I'm like, God, I could go back to like when I was 5. Like, we just always had games in the house. We were the family with an Atari, with a Nintendo. Like, I'm the youngest of 4, so we had a lot of kids that my parents needed to keep occupied. So like Atari, Commodore 64, Pitfall, like way back in the day, we've just always had games in the house. And my favorite game of all time still is probably the original XCOM that I booted into from DOS. Like that game was phenomenal. And then like, during my teenage years, I guess I had Halo and Madden a little bit, just very typical high school boyish stuff. And then I kind of stopped gaming for a while, like probably 6 or 7 years, maybe longer than that. I lose track. And then I went away to school. A couple different states, and I picked up a gaming laptop because I needed a new laptop, and I came into a little bit of cash. And then I started playing TF2 when I had to pay for it. It was like $5, and then I tried to play like every other game that was coming out, like GTA. I played a little bit of Madden still, like all the single player stuff that was coming out. Of course, I bought them all on Steam sales, and you all know how that goes. It means I have 100 of them not played or installed. Yep. I still haven't played the first BioShock, which I want to get to, but then it was just like TF2 from then on. Like all I ever really wanted to play was TF2 from there. And I came into a community that was like Reddit Midwest community. And I know everyone's got opinions on Reddit, but it's a great place to organize like-minded people. And we're all people who kind of lived in the Midwest. Like 4 people around this area that I live in now. I didn't live in then. Just kind of bought a server, and something really just fun grew out of it. And I still talk to and hang out with all those people I knew on the Reddit Midwest server. And we organized tournaments. We'd do trivia nights. And like it was just TF2 all the time TF2. And then we played a little bit competitively. A lot of my friends were very good at it. Started going to like, Plat, Invite, so we watched competitive a little bit, just that group of TF2 players as well. So that was super fun. And then TF2 just kind of died. We all got a little older, things moved on, and then that server was just gone, and like people were like actually broken up by it. It was like it was such a thing. Like we're like, can we revitalize it? And like maybe once every couple months we'd all go on and play. But yeah, it was that. And then when that was gone, I was kind of just floating out there in the gaming world. I didn't really have anything to do or nothing I really liked or loved. And I don't really like doing things that I don't really, really like. So I played like Hearthstone for a little bit, and that's fun. It's okay. It's not necessarily the kind of gaming I want, but I would always just go back to TF2 and I'd play alone. I'd play in pubs and like played a little bit in like very low level comp just because I only wanted to commit one night a week and didn't want to practice or anything. But yeah, and then it was just kind of sad. And then I was kind of looking to get into esports because I have a writing background. And I saw a post for like Gosu Gamers of like, we're looking for, well, I guess this goes into your next question, right?
Sure.
Sure. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
But here, let's go right through. So how did I get into casting? I mean, it's all part of the gaming history, right? And so I saw a post for Gosu Gamers just looking for editors for Heroes of the Storm. And I'm like, well, Heroes of the Storm is cool. It's my first MOBA. I like it enough. I find the characters in the world compelling enough that I'll give it a shot. And I wrote about Heroes of the Storm for like a year, just covering news and events and kind of looking at stats through HOTS logs. I made a weekly that was like Nexus Weekly that was like, I don't know, just kind of my my brief look at things, who's streaming, what's going on. I was never like super into it because I just, wasn't the game for me. But I did that for a while. I made some top-notch memes on the the hot subreddit. So anytime there was a new hero released or like a free-to-play rotation, I would make a joke about it, and it did very well until the moderators didn't think it was quality content, and they were right in their decision.
They didn't think dank memes were quality content.
Right.
They
so that
should be
brings.
fired.
I mean, I don't know. The voting system seemed to work. People seem to like them. Whatever. Moving on. Yeah, so then I was at Gosu doing that, and then when we started an Overwatch section, I just made sure everyone knew, like, very top all the way down to, like, my section editor and just all my colleagues there. I'm like, and when Overwatch comes out, that's all I want to do. It's a game I've been waiting for forever, and it reminds me of TF2, and let's not start that fight again. But it reminds me of TF2. It's class-based. It looks really cool. Everything that's come out about it has been super hype. I want to get into it, no matter what we're doing. Like, if you want me to run the Twitter account for that, if you want me to write for it, if you want me to do anything, like, I want to be I want to be in Overwatch, no matter what we do with it. I think, I've been writing for you guys for like about a year. Just give me a chance to do something with that. So yeah, and then when it was coming out, we all kind of did a little bit for it, but I don't think we really hit the ground running the way we expected to do so at Gosu. We were all just enamored with the game. And then I think late November of that year, they came and they're like, well, we're doing tournaments. And then they're like, we have this guy, ZP, who was from HOTS. I didn't really know. I didn't watch HOT streamers or anything. And they're like, we're thinking about getting a co-caster. Do you want to just kind of audition? I think they were just throwing me a bone. Like, you said you were into whatever Overwatch. Well, why not cast? See how that works. Then we did like an audition, and it went really well, and then we've been casting Overwatch ever since. But that was the first time I met ZP. We just went like through a pickup game in a European servers pickup game, which actually turned into a lot of the players like on Eccentric and players that we still know. Like those first 12 players that we were just like auditioning, doing a test cast on, ended up being like Likely and Nevix. I don't know. There were like a lot of people like in that. So it was a good prep, and so yeah, that's like gaming history and how I got into casting and where we're at now. I think that covers everything. So it was a long answer, but I did two questions.
No, that was great. That was more interesting than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, that's generally the reaction I get from people my entire life.
I don't know. When we talked to, so our first host was Adam Hoek, who made our outro music. And I asked him about his gaming history, and it involved him beating a DJ at a boys' club in a game of Tony Hawk 2.
I want to hear that story.
Yeah, it was a pretty good story. Yours had a lot of information. Was very interesting, but you didn't beat a random DJ in a boys' club at Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2.
Nor will I ever, and I'm gonna have to live with that.
But you did mention Halo, so that's minus 50 Blevins points.
Yeah, that's we have
can
to
I
change
redeem myself?
sign.
I had like Halo 2 wired to an Xbox, which was wired to a secondary laptop, so I could play online without going through Xbox Live. Does that give me any cred?
That gives you a pretty good amount of credit.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah, that is pretty great.
We do have to change a sign though. Like most, workplaces have the so many days without an accident. We have so many episodes without a Halo reference.
I didn't know.
Yeah, we reset that today.
If I didn't know it, I would have just mentioned it like the very first thing I said. To reset that immediately.
Added it to the sponsors at the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sponsored by Halo.
Yeah. Rip Phelan.
Yes. Hopefully he'll be back for the second season, but we'll have to wait and see on that.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, for all we know, he's going to be playing professionally with Cloud9 this week in open beta. He didn't have beta access, so you never know. He might. Who knows? Yeah,
we'll see. He'll probably catch up pretty quick though with his FPS.
I would imagine him having never touched the game before, massively better than I am. Just so much better.
Hex, it reminds me of an interesting question for you. What do you think the impact of the open community will do for the competitive scene? Do you think it'll just add teams or shake up rosters, or how soon will these guys impact the competitive scene?
I would say the first month, you're going to see the teams that we already see be pretty much still on top, in my opinion, if they stick together. Of course, I mean, that's a big if, right?
Right.
True.
But I'd imagine the first month or so, you see Cloud9 still being out there, Luminosity still up there. Reunited, I don't think they're ever not going to be together. So it'll be actually, they're a good barometer to see how fast the new people adjust to it, because I don't think Reunited is going to shake the roster up much. They look uncomfortable doing so, and they've been the same group of guys forever. So Reunited will be there. Whatever comes out of the remnants of IDDQD and Maidong and what's going on and all that stuff, which I know we'll touch on later. We'll touch on Maidong later.
Yes. Start the counter.
Yeah. But I think, the first month or so, those teams have so much experience together, and I think that might be something that a lot of the pros had, or even the pros who we have in the scene had probably underrated about Overwatch coming in, just what is necessary team-wise, comm-wise, cohesion-wise to really get it done. And that's why I think you see the teams that have stuck together and have had those solid rosters be up where they are. So I think about a month or so before we see maybe a team that is not anyone we've seen before rise up and start challenging those guys, because I think it's going to take a while to really get up there. But I think, you're going to see a lot of new people. There's going to be a huge insurge of players here. Yeah. So I think definitely it's going to be different for, there's going to be teams that rise up out of nowhere. There's going to be players that rise up out of nowhere. But I think the very top of what we've seen in beta, a lot of these guys were invited for a reason, and that's because they have competitive gaming backgrounds, and the developers want to see what are the highest level of players going to do with it. And we've seen patches come out of just watching competitive in beta. I don't think there's any way you see the Zenyatta changes or the Symmetra changes without watching tournaments and seeing what these high-level players do with it. So I think they'll be there for about a month, and then ask me again then. Maybe I'll be back in a month.
For sure. So that kind of leads us a little bit into we've talked a little bit with our other host about hero limits and about stopwatch format and tournament formats in general. What are your opinions on the best way to run the tournaments, or should there be a hero limit? Should it be stopwatch, etc.? What do you think about that, Hex?
Yeah, I guess I'll try to take those one at a time. As far as stopwatch, I don't think anyone is naive enough to look at a tournament running pure stopwatch right now in the way it's kind of tacked on to the game and say, this is it, it's perfect, we're done. We don't need anything different. This is set. Conversely, I don't think anyone plays the Blizzard format or watched. I think the new King of the Watch did in the Blizzard format, right? Or watched that and said, "All right, perfect, nailed it. Let's go home." So I think, I've always been a proponent that there's somewhere in between that I don't know if we've reached yet. And I think it's really interesting that a lot of the community has come out. ZP made a post, a guy named Uncle Swag, and I know a couple of his friends made a post in different scoring systems and different kind of ideas to go into it. Should you get 2 points for completing a map faster while the opposing team gets 1? What do you do? And, I don't have the answer, to be honest. I know that stopwatch isn't perfect. I know what Blizzard has isn't perfect. Hopefully we get some sort of iteration in a game. An idea that I've liked recently is kind of like it's both, where you both play on King's Row, and team A finishes it in 6 minutes, team B finishes it in 4 minutes, and then you go to a decider map that is pure stopwatch on a third round on King's Row. So at least you're not switching maps, at that point. If you win King's Row, you won King's Row. You didn't tie King's Row and win Ilios. So you'd have something like that. But I don't know. There's definitely an answer out there. Integrated support for a countdown system in competitive game mode from Blizzard would be a huge step in the right direction. It would allow people to tinker with it a lot more. So maybe that's just a step we take, that let me set a clock on this map at the very least so we can see it on screen, so the game accounts for that time that we put into it, and maybe that fixes some of the issues. But right now, no one's going to tell you stopwatch is perfect. I think it's better than the Blizzard system, how we do it. But it's not perfect. It isn't, and so I'm not going to sit up here and say it is. But I think at some point you have to reward a team that finishes a map in a faster time. Now, what that reward is, what point system you want to do, it's all up to someone else. But if a team finishes in 4 minutes and another team squeaks by in 10 minutes on King's Row, it's impossible for me to say, well, that's equal, let's go to Lijiang. I just can't do it. They're clearly a better team. You need to have some advantage. Something needs to be given to them because of that. So I think we'll see a lot of changes. I don't think Blizzard has it right. I don't think we have it perfect either.
I tend to agree. We kind of talked about it a little bit in the previous episodes, but I think that the stopwatch mode is better for the competitive game in and of itself and for the players, I think. Right. But I think that the Blizzard mode leans a little bit more towards the viewers. And it's kind of hard to. It's easy for the viewers to see, oh, they won, and this is why they won, and oh, they tied. Well, now we're gonna do this decider, and there's no random. The one thing I never liked was, if the one team finishes Numbani in 3 minutes, well, after 3 minutes, they're at the halfway through Numbani. Oh, well, the game's over, and it's just oh well.
Yeah, no, there's definitely the flaw with that, and then there's is it much more advantageous to attack first and be able to set those times? Like there's definitely teams going to have an advantage in kind of the modes we've set now. So yeah, you're right. There's no perfect way to do it right now. I can just tell you that like from watching King of the Watch, I watched 45 minutes of King's Row, and then I watched 5 minutes of Numba or Ilios, and that's what decided it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
I kind of
definitely.
warmed to that a bit recently. I had a conversation with somebody. We were talking about how real sports kind of handle it, and we were talking about how football is a good analogy. Like it doesn't matter if it takes a team a minute and a half to score a touchdown, or if it takes a team 10 minutes to score a touchdown. They're both 7 points. And somebody came in with a remark, and it was funny, but it made me think even more about it. It's like, yeah, but they don't play King of the Hill with four monkeys to decide the outcome of a football game. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, they kind of do though, right? Because it's this weird overtime where it's like, well, you kicked a field goal. It's not sudden death. It's
no,
not.
well, they've
It's
changed it
this
though.
custom rule set, and it's a different way. So, uh, like we've been talking about recently, I think it has to be something that lends itself more to the viewers than the players. But I definitely agree with Hex that you watch both of them and you think this isn't quite right. There's something missing here.
But even football changed the rules so it was less dependent on the coin flip. Getting rid of the sudden death made it more of you need your sudden death or your tiebreaker to accurately gauge who is the better team. That's what overtime in football is meant to do now. With the if you score, fine, then you have a chance to score too. They changed that rule for sure because they knew that flipping a coin and kicking a field goal wasn't an accurate gauge of who is the better team. That's essentially what a sporting event is supposed to determine. So I would still just say it's not an accurate gauge of who's the better team to go to a random King of the Hill map, which is so variant and volatile right now, just the game mode as it is. So yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but even football has noticed like at the end of the day, the better team has to win, and we need to set up parameters that ensure that.
Right. Yeah. What bothers me the most about it is that you essentially it'd be like going to the moon to finish the overtime because of the
Right.
changing the map. It's that bothers me the most.
Right.
If only they could have like a King of the Hill map themed for Numbani and Kings Row, and you know what I mean, kind of in that environment, maybe it would be a little better. But that's a lot to ask of the design team.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe a very accurate progress bar that gets measured at the furthest point you push the cart, and you give each team 5 minutes on the map and say,
Yeah.
here you go, see how far you can get. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can keep it on the same map. I mean, that's what tournaments have always been about. Who can win
Yeah.
this map? And it adds so much cool stuff to the meta. Map bans. Is this the team's favorite map? Are they poor on this map? It allows me as a caster to be like, last 5 times on this map, they lost here, 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 and here.
Yeah.
It has to be determined on the map. And moving maps is my biggest gripe with that entire system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely agree about that. One thing I heard early on, and I actually never really heard anything about it afterwards, was having like a ghost cart on
Yeah.
so you could see.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be nice for the viewers and the players just to be able to see like, oh, they got to here and they got to here, and it would be easier to kind of gauge. You wouldn't even necessarily, well, you probably would still have to do stopwatch, but it would just be a nice little thing to add. But
Right. Well, I mean, we talked about King of the Hill, and so I guess that goes right into hero limits. Let me ask what you guys think of hero limits first.
I'm categorically against them, but I will say this. I'm not having any fun when there's two tracers on the other team. I'm not having a good time with that. And that's really the only instance of it right now that bugs me. I generally think, for the most part, it's not advantageous for a team to stack heroes. Two of something doesn't bother me very much, so I don't mind that. That's relatively common. We see a lot of double Winston now, things like that. The 2-2-2 stack as well. But I generally think it's not super advantageous to do it. I don't know of any 6 of compositions that are actually good. So I think you just let the fact that it's a competitive game, and if you're playing in ranked play, it's going to kind of fix all that for you. So
yeah, and I tend to agree. I'm not necessarily against there being hero limits, except I want the game to have the ability to have a very niche counter strategy. Like if for whatever reason, although the Diva in beta 1 was kind of a bad example because that was broken, the like
Right.
being able to defend forever. But like if you had a comp that needed 4 Hanzos or something, or the beginning of King's Row, for instance, I love the fact that is a possibility and like a legitimate strategy to run 5 Hanzos or 6 Hanzos or whatever at the beginning. I like that you as a team can take a big risk, and maybe going 4 Winstons for whatever reason is a good comp at this point in the map right here, and it could pay off really huge, or it could blow up in your face. I like the ability to have that kind of weirdness, and that's kind of lost unless there's like a huge until we get a lot of characters in Overwatch. That's kind of lost when there's hero limits, and I'm definitely against that.
Yeah, I think a lot of the people now calling for hero limits, and there's exceptions to this too, because there's some people in the community that I have a ton of respect for, just esports veterans who've made very compelling cases to have hero limits for tournaments. But I think maybe some people who are maybe newer to Overwatch and just seeing King of the Hill or just saw Double Orb don't remember the first month of Beta 1, where it wasn't hero limits, but it was a very stale meta. You had a Lucio, a Reinhardt, a Mercy, a Pharah, what am I forgetting? There was always one or two, a McCree, and then something else, maybe a second tank here or there, but that was pretty much it. You were rocking Lucio, Mercy, Reinhardt on every single map, without exception. Offense, defense, those 3 heroes were on every team.
And Pharah, too, we had like a Fantastic Four that we used to joke about, and it was the Pharah Mercy comp with the rest of
Reinhardt and Lucio.
Yeah. So the first month of beta was very much like that. And then you had some of the interesting compositions where people would switch it up. My fear now of going to hero limits is you're going to see a Widow on every team, a Reinhardt on every team. You're going to get back to that very stale kind of composition. And I will say this, even about Blizzard, you mentioned the Diva thing, and I'm like, well, they patched that out, didn't they?
Yeah.
As soon as it became a problem, Blizzard patched it out. They've been extremely responsive. And if you don't think the two things are correlated, I don't know what is Blizzard just changing the game based on whatever, and it happens to extremely affect the competitive meta every time they do so. Right. So I think it's definitely something that they look at, and I think we're kind of waiting for them to do whatever about King of the Hill. So I think it's extremely limiting to put a limit on heroes. And I've seen tournaments that do it, and I've liked watching those tournaments as a respite from the double heroes that we've seen in different metas. But I don't really mind. I always think it'll figure itself out, and it always does. And if it doesn't, then Blizzard comes in and says, well, just take half a Symmetra shields. They're like, that comp's dead. We'll figure something new out. So they figure something new out, and that's what makes it really interesting to watch, is watching teams figure something new out. Now, it's reactionary to say, well, King of the Hill is stale right now. Could not agree more. King of the Hill is stale right now. I hope it gets changed, but I don't think imposing, if we change to single hero limits to fix King of the Hill, what does that do to the rest of the game? So I think it's reactionary, and there's so many, just mathematically, the compositions you can run when you don't have that limit is just millions or something. I'm not
probably.
Good at math. But then when you start limiting, then you're at a such smaller composition. I think it just really narrows the scope of the game, and I'm just a big believer that the meta as a being itself will figure itself out, and when it doesn't, then Blizzard just kind of rewrites the DNA a little bit, and then it refigures itself out again.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I would much rather let Blizzard give us all the tools in the toolbox and let the competitive players in the meta fix itself. And then if something is egregious, then they go, okay, guys, that was our fault.
Yeah,
you broke it. Now we'll fix it.
Right. And because of that, we've seen 5-6 different distinct metas. I mean, at least 3 distinct metas just come through Overwatch in its very brief life. Although, if you're here every day, it feels like a very long life. But yeah, I mean, when people would first, I think a lot of it was people first coming into tournaments and then maybe seeing the 2-2-2 that was popular for a week. Literally a week it was popular for.
Yeah.
And then people seeing Double Orb and being like, I'm so tired of seeing this every week.
Yeah.
2 weeks max, that was the meta. I don't know, I felt like the old guy, you don't remember back in the day, it was Mercy and Lucio and Reinhardt every map, and finally we have some variation. So I think it's funny because people are like, how does this game even have tournaments yet? How is there a meta? Well, there really is and there isn't, and it's constantly changing, and you have to pay attention to the entire thing before you start making grand statements of the meta is stale. It's always made me laugh that the meta is stale as someone who watches more Overwatch and would notice staleness before anyone else. The meta is definitely not stale, except for maybe King of the Hill right now, and we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, and we've also talked a little bit about how we might even see new comps come out just because players are so much better with a Pharah, for instance. Pharah's usefulness is vastly different if the player is good or the player is bad. So I imagine we'll see some more Pharah play. We've been seeing more Widowmaker play. We didn't see a ton of Widowmaker play when the game first came out because people weren't necessarily used to her timings and whatnot, but now we're seeing fantastic Widow play. and counter widow play as well.
And what we've seen is that one change just ripples throughout the entire meta anyway, because you have to counter pick that, and then that changes to they have to counter pick that. I mean, it's just constantly evolving too. So if you see more Pharah plays, you're going to see more widows. You can see double widow sometimes when you need to run it. But Pharah's there to deal with Junkrat, who was extremely powerful at one time in a given map stage or a defensive mode too. I mean, and then so you have to switch off to deal with different types of things. And one small change to a hero, which Blizzard has noticed and they've done, changes everything entirely. So I think it's healthy where the meta is right now, and I've just always thought that tournaments should kind of stay out of it.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Though for what it's worth, I haven't had a bad time watching the tournaments that had hero limits.
No, absolutely not. I've enjoyed those immensely as well. I don't think it's a bad format. I mean, is one better than the other? I don't know, but I don't think that matters. I think at some point everyone's going to try to run a standardized format, so that's why people are having this conversation now.
Right.
Everyone's going to want to run the same format regardless of what ends up being settled on here, and it's going to be an anomaly for a team to run or a tournament to run something different of like, we're not doing limits and we are doing limits. So I think that's why the conversation is so important right now that people are having, but I don't know if it'll ever really get resolved.
Yeah, I would imagine that at some point, maybe it's a year out, or maybe it's, after Blizzard does their first World Championship. Maybe we'll see it at BlizzCon. Who knows?
Right.
We'll have a standardized tournament format. I mean, Blizzard will probably pick their standardized tournament format. We had the same conversation with Hearthstone, where wasn't necessarily sure which way they were going to do it. Was it going to be the elimination format, or is it going to be the last deck standing? I barely even remember the Hearthstone tournament formats. I try to block that part of my life out.
Conquest is somewhere.
Conquest, yeah, and then basically Blizzard announced their tournament format for BlizzCon, and most, if not all, of the tournaments that I saw at the time, and I was actually playing in the tournaments then, basically were like, okay, we're doing Conquest now. And it was fine. I think there's a little bit more nuance, and it's a little more complicated for Overwatch. But I think we are going to see a standardized format for sure. And I think that's kind of leads a little bit into the next question of if we get a standardized format, if we see a world championship for Overwatch. Hex, do you think that Overwatch has the legs and the ability to be a top tier esport like a League of Legends or a Dota 2 or a Counter-Strike?
I hope so.
We all do.
Just get that out of the way. I like the game. Yeah, I honestly don't know. I know that Blizzard is going to put a lot of effort into doing so. And I think right now the market for this kind of game is definitely at its peak right now. We'll see what the opinion. I think the opinion of the Counter-Strike community is going to have an important impact on whether Overwatch has the legs or not, because there is still crossover there between the player bases, people who like shooters, right? I mean, so League of Legends and Dota, you're not going to get a ton of people migrating over. Although Overwatch has the unique ability to get people from games that aren't FPSs into the game, which I think is a big driving force on if it'll be a top tier esport or not. But I think it's really interesting that this game is set up kind of like the rules of TF2's esports. It's 6v6. That's not something that I was necessarily expecting when I first kind of heard of Overwatch, but it's 6v6, only PvP. It's got everything there to, you have sides, you have King of the Hills, the game modes are there for it to be competitive wise, and I know Blizzard's gonna try to support it the best they can. The only thing I think that could really hurt Blizzard or Overwatch as an esport is if the competitive community that's like established kind of already in the game wants to play in a way that is completely different than how Blizzard wants it played. I think that's what you saw, and I can only go back to like TF2 history on this, that TF2 as a competitive format got very, very little support from Valve, just across the board. And there was always conversations like, we're bringing out these guys to our Valve campus and we're going to talk to them about competitive. And that was like 2 to 3 years ago that nothing happened. They're just finally doing matchmaking in TF2, but there's been competitive TF2 around forever. Valve didn't like it. They didn't necessarily like the game mode. They didn't support it. It wasn't integral. And there was just it kind of withered because of that. So I think both the competitive community, the people who want to play this game competitively, and Blizzard have to somewhere get on the same page, because if those two things splinter out, it's going to be really hard to get them back. I think that's my opinion on it. But I think it'll be be one of the top shooters competitively for a long time now, because I don't see anything on the horizon that would dismount it. I think the mechanical skill is there to draw those hardcore players in. The entry to the game is not extremely difficult in Blizzard fashion. That's the only reason I play Heroes of the Storm, because the entry into MOBA was not as difficult. I tried playing Dota 2 like twice, and I'm like, nope, not for me.
You need to read a thesis on why you should buy these items and where the items are, and why you should buy wards, and why you shouldn't be killing stuff in the game. That's like I can go on and on about.
I think it could, but I think I think they have to be smart and listen to like the people who want to play this game competitively, and there are a lot of them from other games who have experience, and they would be smart to keep their ear to the ground on how do the best players competitively from other shooters want this game to be played out competitively, and what can we do to work with them, rather than just saying, we don't really care about competitive, not really our thing. We're doing our own mode or whatever. So as long as there's continuity between the two, kind of entities that make up esports, the players and the organizations, then I think we should be fine.
So basically what you're saying is that Overwatch needs TF2 hats to be a top-tier game.
Well, clearly that's implied. Every time I mention it, there needs to be hats. We have sombreros already. We're all good.
That's true. We do have sombreros and some pretty sweet skins, but we won't go into that. And we're running a little bit late, as always. So I'll ask you just one more question, and I know you're an objective caster, so you might not be able to answer this question. Who knows? What would you say is your favorite competitive Overwatch team?
I saw this question. I'm like, there's no way I can answer that. He knows that, right? So I'll look at the top 4 right now and tell you what I like about each team as quickly as possible. Sure. Reunited, I like just because I've known that like they've been around forever. I love that they have the history in the game. They have a history together, and that they've always been top 2 in Europe, even when they struggled a little bit, fell out for a couple weeks. I like Reunited, constant underdog story, always looking to win. Have been in second. I think they're like really on the cusp of just winning everything they go into now. Luminosity, I love it just because they're not afraid to make roster changes that I think were necessary, and their new roster looks absolutely insane. Siegel has a great mind for the game. We saw his Bastion strategies. I like just the gears that work, and Siegel's had to bring out these strategies, and just his overall play on so many different characters is what I like about Luminosity. And God's a literal god on McCree lately. Okay, so who am I missing? I did one Europe. Okay, Cloud9. I mean, these guys came out of nowhere and just have been a steamroller. I got the privilege of casting them when they were Google Me and some of the earlier tournaments, and they just rolled over everything. And then there was a week where we were doing power rankings. We're like, are these guys a flash in the pan? Are they that good? Yeah, they're that good. They're that consistent, that good. And Short 4 is phenomenal. All the guys on the team are phenomenal. You should check them out. They all stream now, I think, too. So if you really want to get insight, you can check out like almost everyone on Cloud9 is always streaming. Nice. And then I guess IDDQD. Which IDDQD are they right now? I don't know. But it's really hard to argue with their past results, and even with the roster shakeups, they've been extremely competitive against the other top teams. So even without Mendo and Tavik, and when Tavik comes back, they still have him, and they've been able to ride through that continuity. But they were like 55-0 at one point. How can you not like just a dominant force like that? And even with roster changes, the core of that roster is really, really good, and it doesn't really matter who they cycle in or out. And then we'll see what happens with Mendo, Tavik, and the player IDDQD. I know they're all bouncing around, like not bouncing around different teams, because I think Mendo is auditioning for teams right now, and I think Tavik and IDDQD have decided they're going to play together on My Dong or whatever comes of that. So those are the top 4 teams, I would say, pretty objectively in Overwatch right now. Creation Esports I've loved since Flat Earth, so just a brief shout out to them, I guess. I'm being long now, but there's something to like for everybody. They all have different styles, and you kind of have to figure out which style you like in a team, and there's going to be something for you. But if you watch enough, you can kind of when you like, I could tune into a game now without seeing the rosters on the screen or anything like that, and be like, oh, that's Cloud9. That's Cloud9 playing right there. So it's really fun to watch. I would encourage everyone to like watch enough that you kind of get the feel for those teams, and those are also the teams I think will be around even when it opens up.
Yeah. So, but what do you think about the short-lived My Dong? Do you like My Dong, Hex?
It's fine.
I literally only asked that question because I wanted to put
I'm
that joke in there. I've been zoning out for the past 10 minutes now.
A couple quick hits for you, Hex. So, who's your favorite hero?
I play a lot of Pharah. I like Pharah. I played a lot of Soldier in TF2, and they're not siblings, but they're cousins. There's something about hitting midair rockets that is just extremely satisfying.
Hex
and
has the nice
she feels balanced
in Overwatch. Or
Least
nicest middies in Overwatch.
Big old middies.
Big old middies.
Who's your least favorite?
What to play against or to play as?
Sure.
I don't think anyone really likes dying to McCree and Widow right now. It doesn't feel like very counterable, and I guess I don't play a ton of supports. I'm not a very good Mercy. I need to work on that. So I would say probably my least favorite to play is probably one of the robots or a Mercy. So I'm one of those useless DPSs queuing up on your teams.
So apart from Temple of Anubis, what's your favorite map?
I've made no secret I like Hollywood a lot.
Okay.
Just how Hollywood changes from that first point and to the second point to the last point, they all feel very different, very dynamic. And again, as a Pharah main, I love taking to the skies on second point, clearing rooftops, booping people around. And I think every hero has a place and a chance to play on Hollywood, even Hanzo.
And Anubis is the least favorite map.
I don't really mind Anubis that much. I don't find it that fun to play either offensively or defensively. They did open up that right side, or the defender's right, which I think is good for the offense on last, but it still feels, control point maps in general, that there's a large portion of the map that goes unused and unplayed, and I would like to see them address that, because it's, here's a map and here's a bunch of stuff you're going to run through on the way to the next part. You're not going to fight here. It'd be dumb to fight here. You'll lose such a big advantage if you fight here. So I think the middle parts of the map need some work to encourage partial holds, outside holds, and partial pushes.
Okay. It's actually a really good point. I never thought about that. How there's like a bunch of like nooks and crannies and stuff that you just
don't use. There's a giant health pack on the left towards last on Anubis that I think I've gotten twice. Like, there's just no point. I guess they open up that left side a little bit, but there's a whole cool little left area there that you never see pushed. If they open it up, I think you could see some like kind of halfway fights out there.
Yeah, that would definitely be interesting. Hopefully they'll address that at some point. But we are slowly running out of time. Let's move on to some tournament talk. We'll just kind of do some quick hits here. There wasn't a ton of tournaments going on, mostly the Overkill, but we did see the final King of the Watch for the beta phase. We had the former champs of Reunited facing off against, they did the Challenger, the two Challenger play-in. It was Maidong versus Sooner or Later. Maidong won the Challenger fight to play against Reunited, and then Reunited took Maidong down 4-2. So we've now officially, Death, I think we can officially say IDDQD, the team, and also the players that left IDDQD and played on Maidong have all lost now. Right? Is that true? So we can say they finally lost?
Yeah, I think everybody has suffered a loss in competitive now since the streak.
Right.
Yeah. So you're only 4 weeks off of your bet of guessing when IDDQD was going to lose.
Yeah, he made me pick a time it was going to end, Hex, and I said within 2 weeks, and then they didn't play in half the tournaments both of those weeks, so we extended it a week.
He kept lawyering his way into extensions.
Yeah,
and still didn't get there.
And then as soon as it was all right, fine, whatever, I lost, they're just and we're going to break up now, and it's like, oh, okay.
I mean, it's kind of sad. Like, IDDQD, as we knew them, is over with. So they had never lost under that name and under that that roster. But like I said, the core four guys are still very, very good. They they added in Tavik kind of midway through their run. And then they added in Mendo, so it's not like they were losing a ton of games earlier before that. Right. It's not like Mendo and Tavik were carrying them. They're very good players. Don't get me wrong. I like both those guys, but you got Chips and Hulk are also great, and and Bridge Up, and I always forget Coco. That's a solid four of flex supports and tanks as you're going to find in any team.
Yeah, and even their composition, the guys they're using for the Overkill, are they still in the Overkill? I don't think so, right?
Yeah, I think they're in second place in EU. I think.
Or were they second in EU? Okay.
Yeah, they'll play Luminosity, which should be super fun to watch.
Yeah, and they're using Taimu and Tavik, and that's been a composition before Mendo. That was their two DPS players. So that's one thing I loved about that tournament, was that they didn't even come in with a roster that had no experience together. There was a change, but it was just reverting back.
Yeah, which makes Reunited doing what they did to IDDQD and Overkill all that more impressive. They're a team that I've been pushing for a while that is on the brink of that next step, because they've always been there, and now beating the top teams, they've made it.
Yeah. Ryu-salted, I like to call them.
you saw. That was from like months ago, or like a month ago. Like it was a while ago that they did that.
Yeah, it was during the double orb comp. They like stopped a tournament in the middle of it to like complain about the format and like ask the admins to like enforce a hero limit on like this round only or something like that. And I'm like, what are you doing? Just play. But yeah, so I give them a little bit of a hard time for that. But
so bad. And one interesting thing we saw from that King of the Watch tournament was that they did use the Blizzard rules.
They did.
And I don't know if people really like that. I was just looking at the Matcherino comments, and people were like just complaining about. Well, A, they were complaining that they were not on Twitch.
Yeah.
And B, they were complaining about the Blizzard rules and not stopwatch. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the funniest things was Jorosaur was doing his damnedest, and he's like, "Yeah, you can donate and you can name these dice." And the first donation was a masterful troll donation of like, "Please move to Twitch." But he wanted the dice is named. Like, it was so funny. Like, I don't know. I had a great time hanging out in that chat.
yeah, it's a fun place, Matcherino, because I can get Hex to read all my stupid comments every week.
I'm legally obligated to.
we know, and I've already got $5 Matcherino for the next time I have something that I think might make you die inside when I say it.
Great. I guess it's a good goal to have.
when I got you to read the
so turn the stream red.
But the good news is that your blush matches your DX Racer chair perfectly.
Yeah. Super comfortable DX Racer chair. Even helps you out with the blush.
Just tossing that sellout alley-oop.
Yeah.
Oh, so stupid. We also saw, so moving back to things that are mildly relevant, we saw the Curse Monthly tournament, and honestly, Jim told me about this like 5 minutes before it happened. Before we went live, I didn't even know that this was a thing. Do you know anything about this tournament, Hex? The Curse Monthly tournament?
Yeah, it's Alienware Monthly Melee, and Curse did it, and I think ZP and Slasher cast the first one. Finals War, Cloud9 versus Luminosity, and Luminosity had it in their hands, and then they did not win. Monthly Melee, and Curse did it, and I think ZP and Slasher cast the first one. Finals War, Cloud9 versus Luminosity, and Luminosity had it in their hands, and then they did not win, and they got swept. But that does not tell the entire story of that tournament. I would check out the VODs.
Yeah.
I believe Gosu Gamers casted it, so you can check out the VODs over on that Twitch channel too. But yeah, they had a very clear path to victory against Cloud9, and you're not going to come by those often. And they didn't pick him up. And then Slasher, like everyone in chat, it's like Slasher's not mad, he's just disappointed because like he was very upset that LG just didn't pull it off. But I mean, those are the two best teams in NA right now, so it's a great set to watch. If you like El Presidente, the meme I forced onto Bastion, definitely check that out. There's a lot of Bastion play in that tournament too. So it was great to watch. I enjoy watching Overwatch sometimes when I'm not casting. It's very relaxing. It was a good tournament though.
To not have to be completely tuned in and making witty banter all the time.
Right. No, I just get to meme and chat. It's pretty fun to watch. Yeah. That was a great tournament, but it came down to the two NA Titans, and Luminosity was so close to just like, beating Cloud9 is no small feat now. It's like beating old IDDQD. It makes a name for yourself immediately. Taking a map off them, even is impressive. So it's a great series, though. Everyone should check that out if you didn't. And when you're in your Dark Watch withdrawals, definitely hit up the VODs there.
Yeah, as an example, I've only taken 30% off of Cloud9 on King of the Hill.
Yeah.
First ever ranked game, Hex, as I queue up. We don't even know what the format is, so none of those guys knew, and we go to, like, Nepal, and after they crushed us 2-0 on Nepal, and it loads the third point, we're all just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, what just happened? But
I got queued into half a Cloud9 not the other night. That's what I'm really looking forward to is when the Open starts, is that I'll be ranked with players I can actually beat.
Right.
The MMR's a little... I played, like... I'm not a bad player. I'm not at the level those guys are either, but, it really makes you question yourself when you have to play against like the top players in the world and you're like, I don't belong here, just put me back in a quick match. I need more players to play against.
I love it. Now, they don't have the best win-loss ratio since they've started playing tournaments, but the fact that they've appeared in tournaments puts them above me in my mind. But I had a stretch where 4 of my 5 games that I'd queued up and ranked had at least one member of Grouchy Desperados on it.
Yeah, those guys play a ton.
Yeah, and it was the last game only had Bread Expert on there, but all the other ones were like Dump Truck, Mangachu, all those guys.
Yeah,
and I'm happy to say I have a positive win-loss ratio against at least half their team. So
yeah, when we got that team into the tournament, it was just kind of a weird thing. I just had been talking to one of the guys, and they were looking for ways to get into tournaments since we weren't doing weeklies because we were doing Overkill. And then I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'll look into it. Just tell me about it. Send me some scrims, send me stuff, and then tell me the roster. And I'm like, oh, it's just pub stars. These are just guys I lose games to. Cool. But I recognized every one of them. I'm like, oh, god damn it, Mangachu, Dump Truck, Bread Expert. But I do have to thank Bread Expert for just allowing us with a name that we can fill witty banter with, talking about bread for an hour.
Yeah, when he accepted my friend request, I'm like, I'm so happy I have somebody to go with all my bread questions now.
Yeah. But yeah, there was definitely, you'd always end up queued up against those really high-end players because, well, I mean, the player pool is small, and then once you start doing well against those high-end players, your MMR is going up too. My favorite moment in Overwatch, and I know I'm being long, is I just called out this Lucio on this map. I was playing Tracer, and when I hated Tracer, and I'm like, all I want to do on this map, I think we're gonna lose, is I'm gonna sticky bomb that Lucio. I'm gonna stick him. That's my only goal. And I did. I got in, and I stuck him, and I heard it hit, and I raised my hands in victory on my stream, and then let's break it down. That Lucio, followed by the name of Pure, just totally negated my sticky bomb. I was I was flying high, and it was like, oh yeah, I guess I'm not Pure. Damn it.
Oh, that's great. And really, those sorts of moments are why I think Overwatch is going to be a great game.
It's so fun. I just can't even explain to you. Even stuff I hate, and when maps go bad, sometimes I'll take a break or something. But I'm always coming back to it. I always come back to it, and I don't know. I can't explain enough how hyped I was for this game, hoping it was going to be everything that I loved about TF2 and more in the Blizzard polish and the Blizzard package and the lore and the worlds. And I'm not disappointed. And I would tell you if I was, I'm not that kind of guy. It's been amazing, and it's super fun. And I hope that everyone who hasn't gotten to play it yet will play it and fall in love with it as much as I have.
Yeah, we were exactly the same way. We came in on beta 2, and granted, I would have loved probably almost anything Blizzard put out that wasn't a StarCraft title, but Blevins isn't quite on the fanboy level I am with Blizzard, and we were both really hyped up for it and ready for it. And like you said, it in no way disappoints. There's not a single aspect of it where I'm like, man, I really expected this, and they didn't deliver, and I've never thought that once. Despite the 2 or 3 times I've made the anti-tracer post, written it out for the forums and never sent it. Like Hex said, you come back. You get over it. It just makes you want to get better at the counter for whatever's pissing you off.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, nothing feels too completely broken, except when I'm playing, where everything that everyone else is playing is broken. And,
oh yeah, of course.
And they're also hackers too.
Aimbot's real.
Aimbot literally is real. Stupid 76 alt.
I love their conversation about how they built 76 in the story of Overwatch videos that GameSpot did. If anybody hasn't seen them, do check them out. But he said he built, they were talking about building 76, and they just were joking around about how do we appeal to the new age Call of Duty player? And they're like, oh yeah, he's got a sprint. People are mad they don't have sprint, so we'll just give him that. And 20 minutes later, they were just and I guess we just give him a hack and call it an ultimate and go. And then the character's been done and has undergone minimal changes since then. I always love those stories.
Yeah, that's great. And I like 76 for what it's worth. But that's just because I'm terrible and I need the aimbot. But real quickly, we'll talk about the finals of Overkill is coming up, right? We've got the top 4 from the pool play. It's Cloud9, LG, Reunited, and IDDQD. Hex, do you have a favorite for this? I mean, it's going to be this has got to be, this is for the king of the beta, right?
Yeah.
This is going to be the best. This is going to be the best Overwatch we've seen so far, I think. I don't think there's really anyone that would argue against that.
IDDQD versus LG for the third place game. Like I mean, there's a ton of cash in the tournament too. I didn't do my proper research to see where the match arena was, but I know we're doing at least like $5,000, and everyone's getting paid out of this, which for a beta is absolutely bonkers. Like, I mean, I know I'm associated with them, but a big shout out to Gosu Gamers, because if I wasn't casting, I guarantee you I'd be watching and wanting to play in these.
Yeah.
And just like the people who organize it and do all the behind the scenes stuff it's just phenomenal. I can't believe how much we've done, and I was just so excited to be a part of it. But 5K LG IDDQD, I think LG wins that one. Actually, I don't know why. I just have a feeling about it. I've been betting on LG since they were not Enigma. Like I said, I'm familiar with like TF2 players and stuff, and I've always had a special place in my heart for all the guys on their roster. They're all gonna be super close. I for some reason I just have a feeling about LG and how Gods has been playing lately. I think that he's kind of been that missing piece, allows everyone to flex off.
And Pooks, they really leveled up with those roster
Pooks
changes
too. Yeah, I know. I keep forgetting Pooks, but yeah, they get to get so much better with those roster changes, which breaks my heart because I like the guys they had to cut.
Yeah, quite a bit.
But yeah, and IDQ, I don't know. I'm a fool for betting against IDD. I'm just gonna say I don't know what's gonna happen in that one for sure. And then like I don't even know what's gonna happen in the first place game. It's Reunited versus Cloud9. How do you bet against either of these teams?
Yeah,
Cloud9 has looked insanely good, but Reunited is kind of like that same flavor to me as Cloud9 in Europe. Like they're very aggressive. Their DPS players are insanely good. Winghaven can carry on a Rhine, but so can I'm always gonna forget Cloud9's tank. I always forget it. It's Debit. Yeah, no, Debit on tank. No, Coco's IDDQD's tank.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Debit on Cloud9 is just insanely good at Reinhardt too. If you like guys with giant hammers and like really learning how Reinhardt is a masterful character and hero, watch those guys play. It's really fun. I have no idea who's going to win any of this. I could tell you the order I think they're going to finish in, and then you could reverse it, and I'd say, yeah, that makes sense. So just tune in. I think it's the 8th or the 9th. Overkill.gg will tell you that accurately, but we're doing it all in one day. We're going to start in the middle of the day. We're going to do Europe, or I don't know actually what we're going to do. A third place game, and then we're going to do first place game. But Overkill.gg has all that information that I've so non-elegantly laid out for you.
It will be on May 8th. Yeah, it'll be all on that.
Yeah.
I think that's the last day of the open beta. I think it'll close down the next Monday morning, like the closed beta did here. But
yeah, so I mean, it's the best 4 teams in Overwatch right now, and regardless of what you think of a competitive scene or whatever, if you're looking to get into Overwatch and you want to see what the best players on the best teams are playing and how they're playing, you could not ask for more. Yeah, I mean, I think any one of those teams could beat any of the other ones on any given day on any map. Yeah, I don't know. And this is not just like that, not being a biased caster. It's just because I literally don't know. I could see any team winning against. I'm done. Don't know.
Anything's possible, but I definitely have my money on the NA teams from both sides. Like we talked about, just the roster changes, the leveling up LG seems to have done. And you mentioned it earlier, and the Bastion play we saw, I wrote it off initially as they were at the end of the group stage of the Overkill. Some of those matchups were literally meaningless. And so I kind of wrote off the first couple instances of Bastion to these guys aren't being serious. They're having fun. And it was great to see, but then it carried straight over into that Curse Monthly, and they kept doing it. You watch the finals of one of their rounds. I think it's game 3, and they just start out with each team having a Bastion on King of the Hill. And so I'm really curious to see what happens with Bastion, and if he's going to be somebody that needs to see some serious play and competitive, and if that's possible. I'm really excited to see, and I'm hoping Siegel's going to be the guy to do that for me. He's been crazy good on him so far.
Yeah, I think if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be him. But I definitely would like to see, even if it's just some niche play, like the Protect the President comp. I loved that comp, and I loved the name too. But that actually kind of brings me into another thing that, and Hex, don't tear up here, but we've talked about this before. I think a lot of the reason that the competitive scene has grown at the pace that it has in these early phases is because of casters like you and ZP. The reason that I go back to the Gosu Gamers every week is because you guys are doing it, and I mean that honestly, not just because you're on the show, and not just because we have a bias towards casters. Because if anyone has ever listened to our Hearthstone casts, there are casters we don't like.
Yeah, well, we're not afraid to say so.
So a true and sincere thank you from myself, and I think for everyone else in the Overwatch community, for doing just a great job week in and week out on the cast. It truly appreciated.
Well, that means a lot, man, and thank you. And like I always say, and like I hope it sounds genuine as well. Is we try to get better every week. You know, I don't necessarily go through all my casts and watch all of them, but I listen to anyone's comments on it. And there's been weeks where I've had off weeks, and I think you know, early on especially, I wasn't as comfortable with the scene or the game as I would have liked to been. But I try to go through and just put in some work. And yeah, I mean, it's a labor of love. We put in a lot of time on it, but we do it because we love it. And I think hopefully that shows through, that it's not just guys talking about a game that happens to be Blizzard's next big thing. It's like, I love this game and I would be going insane without it and without talking and casting about it. So hopefully that comes through. But yeah, a very sincere thank you from, well, myself and then probably ZP. He's probably
maybe ZP. ZP is still recovering from you just savagely not laughing at his jokes because you forgot to press your push to talk button.
Yeah, no, he's funny. Like, he does make me laugh, guys. Those early casts, it wasn't like his jokes are falling flat. I just forgot I had to push to talk to laugh. It's not a human instinct to, like, when you're chuckling, being like, oh yeah, make sure everyone can hear me chuckle.
Let me press this button first. But yeah, well, we're just about out of time. I don't want to keep you too long. I think we're gonna cut. And I put in, so we sent the notes over to Hex beforehand, and I wanted for those of you who listen to us week in and week out, you know, we cut our hero spotlights, and I wanted to bring it back just to troll Hex to make him talk about Tracer. Yeah. But he's already gotten over his Tracism, so I'm
back on. She's super fun to play, man. She's just not fun to play against is one of the issues. They need to find a balance between the two. I think it has, at some point, it's going to have to do with cooldowns, because, you know, direct hitting a Tracer and then having a rewind come back at you as a Pharah is a really rough feeling. So maybe not give her full health back. I don't know, something, but a player has to be beyond the... She's both annoying and very devastating damage-wise. So it has to be one or the other. Like, either tickle and really disrupt the other team, or make her a very strong killer, because she's both right now, and it's really brutal. But you know why she's fun to play is because dying isn't fun. And as Tracer, you don't have to die very often because of your mobility. So that's why I get why people like playing her. And also, I mean, she's fun. I'm fine with her, but she's really annoying to play against. As fun as she is to play, she's that unfun to play against. If that makes sense. And we need to move closer to the middle.
Yes, for sure. And one more thing, just news-wise before we finish here. We saw a couple of roster changes. We saw Mendo leave Maidong. We saw Mendo leave Maidong, and I really don't know if I like Maidong without Mendo on it. I don't know if I want to live in a world where Mendo is not on Maidong.
No one does.
And just to make sure nobody gets confused about anything, did they replace him with IDDQD, the player? That's what we heard.
That's what I wrote, but I don't remember if that's true or not. I think it is.
Maidong is generally just going to be, as far as I know, it's Tavik and IDDQD, and then some other people around that you might have known from the Maidong roster. And I'm very surprised by it, to be honest, because I thought, you know, Mendo was good for that team, good for that roster. And you have to look at it now. And I love Mendo as a person. He makes me laugh. I think he's a cool guy and extremely talented at the game. But he's been on 3 teams in as many months. And so at some point you have to wonder what's going on there, and do people not like playing with him? Does he not like playing with certain people? I just, you know, it all comes back to IDDQD kind of rechanging their roster, and where did that come from? Why did that come from? You know, they were at the top of the world. They could have signed with almost anyone at that point in time. You know, so it's just... I don't know what it is. I honestly have no inside information. I feel that it's not really my job to be into the personal comings and goings of why things are happening there. We have journalists for that, but something is amiss, and I'm confused by it, and I don't really quite understand it. The one thing I can tell you for certain is that a player like Mendo will not be teamless for a long time.
True. And just from my experience, and I think Jim kind of echoes this with different players on different teams, and even in the Magic the Gathering community, which we both came from, younger players, and Mendo's pretty young, right? He's like under 20, I think.
He just turned 18.
Yeah, so he's super young, and a maturity level definitely comes into play. I mean, again, I don't know. I'm just purely speculating. I know him less than even you do, Hex, even though he is my best friendo. And just to set the record straight, I actually did create that meme.
Mendo was my best friendo.
I did create that meme.
But I created
stick by it.
Pretendo Mendo.
You created what?
Is that actually you in Twitch chat? Are you?
No, someone
Pretendo?
took the name, but I know I said that first. 'Cause I spammed it in his chat when I was watching him stream. I've said it on stream before in tournaments. I'm taking credit for Pretendo Mendo.
I'm also taking credit for Mendo's my best friendo.
It doesn't once it's out there, man. It's no one's.
I know it's like common. I don't know. It's disappointing. I found the crutch of creating a meme and having no one everyone be like, no, that wasn't you. Like,
Yeah, it feels bad, man.
yeah. I also created Feels Bad Man.
It's true.
All right. Well,
the guy dancing in Sour
we're getting into the silliness realm, and we're going over time. Let's start out by thanking Hex so much for stopping by and hanging out with us for the season finale. Remember, guys, this is the last episode of season 1. We'll be back when Overwatch comes back. But
about a month.
About a month. But Hex, thank you so much for coming on. You're a great co-host, and yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah, no. Anytime you want me back, man. If I'm not busy and there's Overwatch to be talked about, I'll definitely be doing it. So it was a good time.
Awesome, perfect. So let's start it off. Hex, where can we find you?
On Twitter, I had a really awesome tweet the other day about a movie called Puppet Master, and it's the cover looking like a Hollywood poster from Overwatch. So if that interests you, because you like 90s horror movies, you should check out that image. It's my favorite conspiracy theory in Overwatch right now, that is definitely the cover from Puppet Master 3, which was made in 1991. But that Twitter is at Hexagrams. It's one. I only tweet about Overwatch. You're not going to see me tweeting my Starbucks cup because I don't go to Starbucks, and I don't take pictures of my food. I'm an adult.
You can take pictures of your Diet Coke, though.
No, I don't. They just
You're never gonna get that sponsorship.
I know, maybe I should. And I stream as well on games. If you want to see me get salty at McCree and then kind of overcome my salt to try to win, that is twitch.tv/hexagrams. Of course, not streaming Overwatch this week, but you can hit me with that preemptive follow. Maybe I'll treat everyone to some Hearthstone or Heroes of the Storm or TF2 during the break. But when I come back, definitely just hit me with that follow. And I'll know during the week that someone followed because they listened to this podcast, and then I'll think that Blevins actually has value as a human being. But I think that's about it.
Whoa. That's where you're wrong.
That's where I'm dead wrong. Twitter, Twitch, and then anything, I guess just check out gosugamers.net. If I ever start writing things there again, now that I have more time, maybe I will. But they're all good, and any tournaments that we do, hopefully I'll be involved with those as well. And even if I'm not, give support to the guys at Gosu because they do a wonderful product and everything that, the Overwatch Beta 1, I think Gosu was just such a huge part of, and I hope that we can move forward and being a big part of it going forward. So that's my personal stuff. Again, thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Hex. Deathblow, where can we find you, buddy?
Twitter.com/D3ATHBL0W and Twitch.tv/D3ATH_BL0W.
Get out your calculators, folks.
Yeah, Blevins has me super self-conscious about whether or not I can even say my own URLs correctly. But that's where you can find me.
Yes, and you can always find me twitch.tv/the_Blevins. No, sorry. I did it wrong. It's twitch.tv/theblevins no_. Twitter is.
Should have had your calculator out.
Yeah, good thing I had my calculator out. Twitter is at @the_Blevins. It's literally the first time I've ever messed it up. You can always follow us, the cast, at HighNoon Podcast on Twitter. If you're listening to this not live, you can check us out at twitch.tv/theblevins every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern, starting in a month for season 2. That's where you can find us. You can also find us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, SoundCloud, all that stuff. You can find us on creationesports.com, which reminds me, thank you to creationesports.com, one of our Season 1 partners, as well as Matt Torino, helping us out a lot. That's going to be it for Season 1, guys. I'd like to thank everyone that showed up today in the Twitch chat. Thank everyone who's followed, liked, all that stuff. I don't know. There's like 100 different things you can do now. Thank you to everyone who did all that stuff.
Hit it.
Hit it and quit it. Wait, no, don't quit it. Hit it and then don't quit it. But this is an overly long outro. Guys, do you have anything else? Any last parting words?
Nope.
All right,
Ended already.
I only have one thing I want you guys to know, and that is it's HighNoon.
put on his hat. He threw the coin away that same day. It's in his past and he's not looking back. He says, finding mine now guides my way. He's not good, but he sure ain't bad. He'll make amends for the sins that he has. He says, I'll change the world